and welcome everyone to our second Meet the Designers. Today we have with us Lee and Dan. Lee and Dan, could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. My name is Dan, and I'm the creative lead for Lego Mindstorms. We're here in Innovation House in Billund, in Denmark, the home of Lego design. Every product, every box that you see on the shelf comes from this building. And yeah, we're the Mindstorms design team, and Lee is one of the designers. So Lee, you want to?
I am Lee, senior designer here with the Lego Mindstorms team. Some of you guys might know me from those world festivals and first Lego League events and a bunch of other stuff that you guys haven't seen me at. But here I'm now working with the Mindstorms team, making some cool stuff. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I watched last week's last Monday session just to see what kind of weird questions you guys are going to prepare myself.
All right.
Speaking of questions, this is your chance to ask them any questions you have. So go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put it in the chat and we will read it out loud for you. But yeah, this is your chance to ask the experts any questions you have.
Maybe you and Arvin
anything you want.
Yeah, anything you want. And you and Arvin, maybe you could start with something, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, sure. I actually had a question. This one's slightly more targeted towards Lee, but I know you've been working with designing mission models for past FLL seasons, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that process is like for designing models.
It's a little different every year, but there was just kind of on the overviews, we got to meet experts based on the theme. So the theme came down to us from somewhere else, from way above where I am, and then once it gets down to us, we're start looking at the inspiration of meeting experts and getting their info, and possibly even going to places and seeing cool space stuff or cool buildings, or see another round of experts if it's nothing physical that we need to do. And then basically from the minute that I heard of the theme of the year, I would start sketching models. But like it really gets narrowed down as we get to who or what we're going to be talking about. And then, yeah, it's a real basic design process. We have a deadline that we need to get to, and I can always use I wish I had more time for actually making them, but it is taking that expert and then talking to the game designers and whoever else is interested in making those things happen, and finishing up the field within the time that they were given, because it's a lot shorter than you guys think.
Looks like we have some questions coming in related to this topic, so I'll go ahead and read them out loud. The first one, which sort of software do you use to design models? Do you mean like something like stud.io or?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a variety of different tools that we use, when designing, in terms of brick designing, in terms of graphic designing, in terms of programming. There's a number of different tools that we use. LDD is the one that we do a lot of work in. But yeah, it really depends on what we're making. The graphic artists will use a number of different tools. There's also 3D artists in terms of rendering and modeling. So there's part designers, there's using Rhino, and I can't think what else they use. But yeah, it's all sorts of stuff. So yeah, if you want to know what you need to get good at, you just need to get good at learning different software.
But like on the other side of that, a lot of model design is done physically. just so we need to feel the model in front of us before we actually use it as a computer. But there are designers who do use it for design, actual design of the models. It's great for doing like color explorations and stuff like that, where I don't need to change every single piece or something like that. But, a lot of physical work.
Awesome. Our next question is, how long on average does it take to get a finished design?
How long is a piece of string? I mean, to Lee's point before, right? We'll take things through a design process, starting with a brief and then usually a deadline. And sometimes that deadline can be years in the future, right? And sometimes it can be months or weeks. You know, we have a colleague who's leaving us, and I was asked yesterday if we can build a model by tomorrow. The answer for that one was no. We'll have to buy him. We'll buy him something from the toy store and you know, a bottle of wine or something. But yeah, it really depends on something as complex as Mindstorms. It takes years. Something as a lower price point, you know, maybe like a vehicle for friends or city, or a superhero set, it could take a shorter time. But also we like to give designers time to explore, to come up with the, you know, extra play, the extra cool builds, not to just, you know, go through it quickly. So yeah, designers will always say there's not enough time, and creative leads will always say you need to work a bit quicker, right?
So it's not about how much time it takes, it's more how much time we're given to do something, which is something similar to what you guys are going through in FLL. Like, okay, your tournament's coming up. It's done when you press play.
And you'll always want to loop a design or iterate a little bit more. Oh, should we tweak this bit? But at some point, you've got to say that's the finished model. I mean, and the beauty of it is then that finished model can then become the start for anybody who buys that to be the start of their model, right? So that's the beauty of what we do. That, you know, you can then take it and make it something else, something better, something different.
Yeah, I'm sure teams would love having infinite amount of time to perfect all their robots.
Constraints are good in a
good.
design process. Constraints are a good thing, right? So having a time, having a, you know, a number of elements, having you know, constraints on colors, it all helps you to be creative in the process. So yeah, but yeah, we always want a bit more time,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm. Our next question is, how many designers do you work with?
In the design organization, hundreds. In the Mindstorms team, a few. So we have a building literally full of designers. So we sit in between Technic team and the video team and Mario. And then over the other side of the building, it's Friends and Ninjago and superheroes and Star Wars are down the corridor. So it's just full of designers.
And it's nice to get input from whoever walks by, really, who has access to the building. But I mean, our team is, you know, every team's going to tell you they're small. Just, you know, the immediate designers that we're directly working with. But you need to define like model builders and designers and graphic artists and element designers and UX and user experience designers and things like that. So it can go from, you know, to define your designer.
Okay, so our next question is, what is your favorite model that you've designed?
Wow.
You have one there?
You have one?
I got a couple.
Let me think. Lee can answer.
yeah.
I got to think.
I got let's see. I really like the satellites into orbit, which everyone really hated because they fell apart. But they were modeled after real spacecraft that went out. So if anyone wants to actually see Easter eggs in models, the two of them were modeled after the Voyager spacecraft, which was the first one that left our solar system, and the other one was the Cassini spacecraft that was crash landed into Saturn right when we locked the models. So I actually got that one pulled in just before we. But I love all the work that we've done. Into Orbit was one of my favorite years. Actually, just all of those models really meant something to me.
And I guess for me, I don't have it in the room, but I'd say at the moment it's the Dan Rover, which is my Mindstorms inspired Land Rover mock that I made. So it's not an official set, it's just something stupid I made in the office. I like to do that. And then just leave it around on my desk and hope that someone sees it and goes, yeah, we should make that.
Yeah,
I
and
had it
for,
last time.
awesome.
and for
yeah,
those
it's
of you
not here.
who, yeah, for those of you who were at the previous session, you got a chance to see the Dan Rover in action.
I'll be back.
Dan-
You
Dan-
can,
Dan-
Lee can answer the next question. I'm going to get the Dan Rover.
Yeah, I had a question for
Got it.
Lee, like talking about the satellites. Do you do any like strength testing of models at Lego?
We knew that, yeah, we do. We have we do a test to simulate daily use for like closet use. We do robot uses for, we do robot tests, like repeatable action tests for functional models. We knew that the satellites were fragile, but we also know that they needed to be treated fragilely by the robots. So, and to be kind of like a real satellite, they are fragile. Like if a small moon dust or moon rock or like a little piece of asteroid hits one, we have problems. So good thing the chances are in real ones that that wouldn't happen, but the damage that a small rock moving at a very fast speed can damage a real satellite should tell you something about why actually we made the conscious decision to leave the satellites in their state, because they are in fact as real as they can get.
That makes sense. They also look really nice too. So
You know, you put them on yourself, and there's a
so
Dan.
Dan,
Dan Rover is back.
Dan Rover's back.
Oh, the lights have gone off because the hub's out of batteries.
Love the Dan Rover. We love it.
Yeah, we got Little Blast and Charlie driving,
Yeah.
and yeah, we got all the motors and all the suspension upgrade and another hub in here. Yeah, I like to do. I got 2 hubs and a spare hub on the roof because they're off-roading, right? Things happen. But it was fun to drive that over to the Technic team just to see their face when it came.
Yeah, that car is really cool. It's one of my favorite.
Good job.
Interesting.
Uh,
I have physics in 20 minutes. Okay. 14 minutes.
Do you have a question or? Yeah, I think someone's just unmuted. Okay. Someone is asking, what type of skills do you need to be a designer?
So we got asked the question on Monday around what sort of degree or what sort of thing at school or college you need to do. And, you know, the answer for that one was there isn't anything there's no one thing from a education perspective that ties all the designers together. And I think I said, you should just do something that makes you happy and gives you energy, right? Because that's the most important thing, right? To take stuff that's going to make you grow as an individual and you know, bring joy to you, because that's when you'll be your best self. And when I say what skills do you need as a designer, you obviously, if you're a model designer, because we have a lot of different designers, right? I have UX designers who had never played with Mindstorms before and hardly played with any Lego before, and they're now part of the Mindstorms team and are doing a huge contribution because they're great UX designers. But I'd say if you want to be a model builder, you need to know how to build bricks. I know that sounds really stupid, right? But you need to be able to express your ideas with the bricks. Ability to draw or to sketch is also really important, because if you can sketch an idea with a pencil and a piece of paper very quickly to communicate what you're trying to say, and then convince someone. So Lee can convince me, hey, Dan, I want to make this thing, right? And he can sketch it quickly and I understand. And then Lee goes away and builds a sketch of it. That's a much better process than if Lee spends half a day building his idea and then I go, I don't really understand. So it's a way to communicate your ideas, I say, is one of the really important skills. And whether that's with drawings, whether it's with descriptions, being able to paint a picture with words, but ultimately also putting bricks together and having a passion and a skill for that. Lee, I don't know if there's anything, Lee, from your side of your years of experience.
I wanted to highlight the word communication because it's about, you know, taking something that has a funny shape and putting a story to it in different ways, making sure the people that need to understand what you've made know what it is, and you might need to understand that in different languages, like someone who's going to sell it versus someone who's going to build through it. Things like that. What else was one? Empathy, which was a really good one, to be able to think like your target audience. So like, can you put yourself in the shoes of a 10-year-old or a 2-year-old? I you know, just as an example, I think for me, designing Duplo is way scarier than designing Technic because it's really hard to kind of be in the shoes of that 2-year-old and know what they need to do. Wow. Yeah, there's kind of the soft skills, you know, but I think communication and empathy, I think, at least for me, has always been 2 skills to fall back on.
That's really great. Thank you. Let's take a look at our next question, which is more from like a design perspective. It's like, how much does the cost per piece figure in your design? Do you have to make lots of edits to lower costs?
So we don't actively design on a cost per piece. So we're not doing sort of some calculation to magically work out a formula. But obviously we have to design within a set budget. So when we talked earlier about constraints of time and colors and elements, and cost is obviously, or you know, the final cost or the target price of the set is obviously a consideration. You know, how big is the box going to be? How much cardboard is there? How many plastic pieces are in there? How many motors and batteries and, you know, the cables, all that stuff, you know, ultimately adds up. So we have, you know, budgets or set amounts, right? So Lee will have a brief. So I will, you know, I would write a brief and I would say, hey, Lee, you have, you know, this much to spend on technology components, this much to spend on bricks, and then that will leave us this much for packaging. And that gives us, you know, our target. And then it's the designer's choice to then say, okay, well, I want all these really big, really new elements. I want to put loads of wheels in. I want to put loads of gears in. And then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. How are you going to pay for all the pins, right? Or how are you going to pay for all the axles or the beams? So it's a skill from the designer side to create the model first, you know, and that sketch model, and then to try and see, okay, well, can I afford to make this model for the price point? You know, if you built a spaceship this was this big, right, for Ninjago, you know, or a massive dragon, and you had to sell it for $20. You've put more than $20 worth of plastic and you know, and stickers and minifigures in it. So you've got to be realistic as to, you know, how much you know, how big can the model be, or how complex can the mechanisms be. So we don't sit there with a, you know, sort of magic formula, and we're not actively pushing designers to always save money. You know, we try, as we said before, we always want more time. We always want more money, right? In terms of, you know, we always want more budget. We always want, yeah, but more, right? But actually, again, the constraints help because they help to keep the focus.
I think actually just a story about that on the current FLL season. We actually were way under the budget. And did we have time to add more? Could we add more stuff to it? Could we change the models? So we actually ran out of time before we ran out of budget for piece. So it is actually something that we have to consider, because you need to make the model that you're making worth it for the person building it, right? So it can't always be lower. It actually should be at the right place. So it's sometimes you have to finesse the model that you make to make it worth what it costs.
So
Yeah,
this
that
is
makes sense. Go ahead.
This is Watso from Team TechWays, and I always had this one question that what software do you use to make like the models, like the building instructions, and to make the mat?
FLL mat. I imagine that's designed in something like Illustrator. Or
FLL mat was designed the last 3 years was designed in Photoshop with a million layers, and each one of the files I think was in gigabytes.
I would have probably designed it in Illustrator if that was me, but
It's what they were working out. The previous Macs were designed in Illustrator, so it really depends on the graphic design.
May I
team.
ask, since you're in Denmark, do you speak Danish or is English spoken by everyone? Can I ask that?
Yes.
yeah, sure. English is the international language of of working at the Lego Group. So even though we're based in Denmark, I'm from the UK, and you know,
From US.
Lee's from US. You know, all of our colleagues will speak English, and this is a challenge. We live in Denmark,
Yeah, yeah.
and everyone speaks really good English, and Danish is really tricky to learn. And the incentive to learn when everybody speaks really good English, it's really tough. My kids speak better Danish than I do, so yeah.
But kind of, I think for being here for so long, it's a good idea to do your best to learn a little bit of the language to get by. We live in a Lego bubble, but the rest of the Denmark still expects you to speak Danish.
Unless you're in Copenhagen. And then
Unless you're in Copenhagen. But everyone speaks everything anyway. here,
Yeah, I think
so.
there's like 200 nationalities working in design. So we have, you know, a whole mix. In the design team, we have French and New Zealand and Danish, American, British. Where else do we have? Yeah,
Quite a handful of Chinese
all over the
now,
place.
a lot
Yeah.
of French,
Oh, I was just thinking about mine.
a lot of Italian, a lot of Spanish, and the list is growing of internationals who are coming in.
What software do you use to make the building instructions?
I don't actually know. I guess it's
actually,
a
they use Illustrator.
Illustrator
to
or
make the
InDesign?
to make the-
I imagine.
InDesign actually.
because it's a print layout. So I'm assuming it's a print layout software like InDesign. But we don't make that. That's the building instructions team, who are a couple of corridors down from us.
We hand them a digital model and
Yeah,
and
they work their
they-
magic.
They work their magic.
Almira, do you have a question?
Yes. So how did you how did you like get into this field, like, of designing and building Lego?
That's a fun one. I have been a lifelong Lego fan. I think I've always had it with me. And actually, after I graduated from university from engineering, I ended up doing some Lego gigs. So I worked at a Lego store for a couple of years, and then I started teaching Lego robotics in different places around New York. And I got introduced to First Lego League actually, and did some work for some Lego Mindstorms guys, Lego education guys, and they actually brought me in to come to Lego. So they actually asked me the question if I'd like to join the team in Denmark. And, I ended up here. So this was a really kind of, I never thought this was possible on my end to actually work in here, but I've always wanted to play with the toys myself. So I ended up making and doing jobs that were kind of my passion, to play with the toys and let someone else pay for it. So it's a really cool place for me to be.
So that means that you were a robot maker before you worked for Lego Group.
Yes.
Yay! Awesome.
And I had a non-traditional way into Lego as well. I mean, you can speak to a lot of designers and a lot of other creative leads who have, you know, worked their way from being a student worker or an intern and did a degree in industrial design, and then they did their masters in graphic design, and then they started off making small price point SKUs, and they worked their way up. And 20 years later, they're still here making Lego and having fun. I started in digital design, UX design, UI, apps, and online stuff. I worked at an architect, at a publishers, at big telcos. I then worked for Lego Education in the UK, doing digital design, for online stuff for Lego Education. I then also got invited to come and move to Denmark to take up a role again with Lego Education, but based in Billund, and from there pursued my dream of actually working in in the Innovation House, in the design, center of actually making toys. I'm a toy maker at heart, and always wanted to make toys. A huge lifelong Lego fan. With my dark ages, with those years when I was a teenager, that when I did other things, but other than that, I've always been hands on the bricks. Pretty much went to a lot of meetings I wasn't invited to, presented to people who didn't know who I was, built models of things I shouldn't have built. Not scared to take opportunities, not scared to talk to people very high up in the company, because they're just people, and the worst they can say to me is no, and the best they can say is, hey, that's interesting, so I guess you make your own luck in that sense. I think I've been very lucky, but also I think the circumstance and putting yourself in lucky situations is what's led me to be here. I still feel very lucky. I've got a great team that I work in, a great team of designers, and the wider team with our developers who are keeping the app, going and updating it, and the UX guys and the UI designers and the wider design community. So I'd say it's luck and a bit of planning and a bit more luck.
Yeah.
And hard work, right? There's a bit of hard work in there, right? We don't just, these models don't just, and these ideas don't just come, overnight. But it's.
I guess it's not. I guess it's not just playing. You probably have a lot of meetings that should have been an email or something like that.
Yeah, we got asked on Monday if it was really as fun as it sounded, and it's like, I have to do spreadsheets and presentations that I don't want to do.
I need to build 10, 15 copies of stuff in a day, which sounds a lot more fun.
But no, overall, it's a fantastic company to work for, right? We're being a family company and family owned. Really, you can feel it in terms of the culture, and in terms of so many people love the brand and have a love for the brick, particularly in Billund with the internationals, people who've moved their families from all around the world. That's a big statement, right? It's not just another job. It's more of a it's a dream job. I mean, it's my dream job. I've been here in Denmark for 5 years. I've been with Lego for 8-9 years in total now. When people ask me what I want to do, I'm like, I want to stay here. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Exactly. Make more Dan rovers, right?
Where do you get the inspiration for like the math seasons, like Cargo Connect was like for cargo, and Replay for like exercise? And where do you get the inspiration?
I think there's a list of kind of like the world's most kind of dire issues, like keeping kids active and understanding transportation and whatnot. That's like a world summit list that I know FIRST has kind of the biggest handle on. Usually for us from the design team, we're given the theme, so we don't get too much input on what we want in there. I mean, of course, they ask us like, "What do you guys want to do?" But a lot of the themes come from which part of the world we want to save this year, and we get our inspiration from the pressing things that need to happen relevant to that theme.
Okay, I'm going to start reading off some of the questions that we had in chat from a bit earlier. So the first one I see here is, when you're designing, do you ever need a new piece to be made to do what you want to do? Is it hard for Lego to make a new piece that hasn't been made before?
I mean, we have a whole team of element designers. We try to build, with what we have. Because that's the beauty of Lego, that you can take the existing bricks and make so much more. New elements can be fun, as Lee has the wheel. Yeah, obviously the new wheel.
I got a story for this.
But we try to use what we have, unless we see there's something missing, right? There's there's a gear, right? If only there was this gear that had this many teeth in it that would just fill the gap in all the Lego gears that we have. You know, we should make that thing, or which I think they did. We did for Spike Prime, or you know, we want a frame, a bigger frame, so we can make prototypes much quicker. You know, or like the big building plate that we have in the Mindstorm set. You know, we want this plate because it's super cool for prototyping, right? It's not actually very easy to build into a model. But for prototyping, it's really cool if we could just make this, you know, make this extra element. So we try to use what we've got, but also we understand the novelty of new stuff and the opportunities it then opens up, right? So if it is something that, particularly with Technic, right, that it's functional and it then, yeah, can also be used not just for one product, right? Because if you're making a piece, you want it to be a piece that other people use as well and other people find useful, right? Which is great about the wheel that Lee's going to, you know, tell you the stories about. But we saw when we made that wheel in black, you know, for the Mindstorm set, I saw a lot of other teams using it in sketch models straight away. You know, because before it was in blue, you know, from Spy Prime. But as soon as it went into like a classic tire wheel combo, it was in Ninjago, it was in Creator Classic, it was in all these other areas we're using it, and that was really good to see because that's what we want. We want people to use those elements, you know, across the board. But Lee has I guess, a more interesting story about the wheel.
Yep, I started the development of this wheel in 2015. So it took, so some elements can take that long to go through. It took me there was a year of research on the shape, just the shape of the wheel here. Hundreds of actually drawing with a pen and comparing it to the EV3 wheel and proving how different it was, how it performed. And we talked about using it as a different type of element, making it faster to build. So that was one of the reasons we made it already built on there. It's not a perfect wheel, but it's certainly something that we knew from FLL competitions. And one of the reasons I always went to FLL competitions was to get that kind of research. You know, I think if you guys ever see a designer at a competition, you can't imagine what's going on in their head. Like, oh, there's a mechanism that you kids are doing. How come every kid is using a wheel that was from 1998?
Yeah, exactly. The motorbike.
You know, why was every team using that? We were putting these cool flat wheels in the sets, but every team was using that one. So, you know, we're not just looking at your individuals and how many times you're doing a run in successful missions, but looking at the whole competition and really looking at what you guys did. Yeah, it was 2-3 years, and then it got passed on and got approved. We made a family wheel, so I'm really super proud of this wheel to be used in so many different sets now, including Ninjago, Monkey Kid, Mindstorms, of course, and creators using it now.
Just a
So
motorbike.
motorbike creator. So, but the fastest element I've seen go through went in 6 months, and that was the tank tread rubber that's in the Mindstorms EV3 expansion set. I've never seen anything go that fast. So yes, but it's definitely hard to do. So each one of the molds itself is just a really expensive thing just to get it built in machine. And with just in my engineering background, I know how hard it is to create a square shape with a moving liquid inside. So if you looked at a mold anywhere in there, you got to know how, like, this one's pretty easy. It's like that little mold of rubber around it. But anything that has a funny shape, like the Lego frame, there's like, it's so hard to create a kind of a sharp corner like that, which is super interesting. And I didn't even like fluid dynamics, but it is incredibly generally difficult to create an element with everyone that needs to be involved.
How do you decide what elements to retire?
So it depends on how they're used. You know, so if they're used, I mean, you know, then they won't be retired unless there is a reason for, say if the performance can be improved, so maybe we make a better hinge, or we make a slightly more subtle slope, right, which then can be a more pleasing design. But yeah, it's basically on how they're used, and there's a team responsible for managing all the elements, and they will propose which elements we retire at the end of each year, because we don't just want to keep adding more and more and it just growing and growing and growing, because that complexity then in terms of making them and storing them and even designing with them, right? If suddenly Lee had 1,000 bricks to choose from today and then 2,000 in a year's time, it's like, wow, it becomes incredibly complicated. So it's a process of how they're used, and what new elements have come, and how we can see them being used going forward. And then there is also, I mean, a lot of human element in it, a lot of discussions around, do we think they're valuable? Do they, valuable in terms of free play and in terms of functionality? So it's a tricky process, but it's also really cool to be involved in. Really, from a really nerdy.
There's a whole nerdy team that's involved in asking which elements are gonna.
Yeah, as a Lego fan, it's super cool to be involved in anything around elements and new stuff, old stuff. It's incredible. If you like Lego, it's an incredibly fun place to work.
Thanks, and thanks, Lee, for sharing that story about the wheel. That was really cool. Let me see if there's any more questions. Okay, we answered a few of these. Ooh, what is your favorite retired Lego theme that you miss?
I'll answer mine. I miss Bionicle.
Ooh. Okay.
I grew up. I spent my college years buying Bionicles because that was the ones sets that I could afford.
Okay, I guess I'm a little older than you then, Lee. So I'm going to say Classic Space.
I
just honestly, who doesn't miss Classic Space? We have a vault here. In Idea House. One of the buildings here downstairs is the vault, which has all of the boxes ever, right? And I know every time I go there, I know where I go. I go look at that collection, look at those vacuum formed base plates with the craters on them, and the big balloon wheels on those rovers, and the beautiful color scheme.
Someone got me for my birthday Classic Space set that matches my birthday. So so this is when SKUs were 3 numbers.
Yeah.
So that was a real gift. That was a Classic Space set. That's the old gray and blue and with that trans yellow cockpit. It is one of the things that's floored me in terms of a present. I love Classic Space. That is like Blacktron, Mtron. If you guys, I even named my first Lego League team. My first Lego League team. We were Bricktron. and they voted on it. So it was like, okay.
It's awesome.
You guys, these are the things that inspired me, and but they picked it. Our logo was based on the Blacktron logo, and I just turned it blue, and it was awesome. I had it on T-shirts. I had all the shirts with the big Blacktron with the blue B on it.
But the crazy thing is, being fans of Classic Space and Blacktron and Mtron, is in the design team we have Jörn Thompson, who designed those models.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for what you see behind us, right? In terms of the current Mindstorms models, right? He did the mechanisms for all of the 5 sets. He did the designs on NXT, and he built the models we played with as kids. And he's in our design team. So
I sit next to him.
Yeah, so
I sit next to the guy who built my childhood.
Yeah, it's a strange building we work in a very fun way.
Please say thanks to him for me. I've played with the Classic Space Lego for years, and now that I am out of my dark age, I'm doing a big moon base, doing monorail train with different parts. but with all the classic space inside them. I don't own them, but all my friends do. So I do base plate. They put their nice spaceship on my plate, and we do big moon base. So please say thank you to him.
We will.
Okay, so our next question is, what was the first model or product that you designed that made it to a final product?
My very first model was the Lego Mindstorms Education EV3 course set. I spent 3 years not being able to talk about what I could build when I was building, but that was the base model is so much of my work in life. It's almost a compilation of the 30 years that went before it, my engineering and working at summer camps and all the first Lego League inspiration to make that model. So I'm super proud, and I still see hundreds of thousands of kids and hits and views using that first model. What's yours?
Well, as a physical product, I've had a lot that haven't made it. A lot of ideas, a lot of stuff that went so far and then got merged into someone else's idea and then, disappeared or was reborn with something completely different. But the first physical model, so not a digital, not an app or an experience that has been launched, was this one. It was actually the Mindstorms Robot Inventor. So whilst Jörn, I'm giving Jörn all the credit for building the models, but it was a team effort with myself, Jörn, and the other model builders, Morton, obviously, who some of you guys met on Monday. But this is the first one that I've made it to a final product, and that says a lot about the design process in terms of you can work for years working on product design and not actually have something come to market. And when we talked earlier about the skills and we talked about communication and empathy, something else that you really need is resilience, because you get a lot of stuff that it doesn't fail, right? Just because it didn't make it to market, it's a timing issue. It's there's many different things it means a product doesn't become a product. There are some fantastic models and fantastic play experiences I've seen in these four walls that have never made it to market for various reasons. Some of the biggest, craziest models, I'm like, oh my God, if only people saw this, they would, and it doesn't make it for various reasons. The smallest, simplest, cutest little Lego models you've ever seen, or collectible series, or whatever they end up being, that don't make it for various reasons. So it's, I would say some people are prolific in terms of, Jörn has hundreds of sets to his name over a career spanning 30 odd years at Lego. And some designers are churning out, small sets all the time. But for me, it's the Mindstorms Robot Inventor. I couldn't be prouder. It's to Lee's point as well. It was, 2.5 years of my life, I couldn't talk about what I did. My parents, my wife, they didn't know what I was working on until one day I was on YouTube telling people what I was working on.
Yeah, I think with the EV3, I went from, I was supposed to make 30, I had 30. At launch, it should have been 30 models. It went down to 15 really fast. So we're developing a lot of stuff that overnight.
And this is the while we have the Mindstorms is one box, right? And it's a 5-in-1, but actually we counted it and there's over 60 separate building instructions in the app, right? So it's actually 60 models of varying complexity, from blast all the way down to a turret to go on MVP, to a little scorpion that you can pick up, with the crane, right? So all of those had to be designed, and we had to, create all of those. So when people see us, and it's only one box, and you can go around, and Star Wars has 15 boxes, and Technique has 20 boxes, and it's like, yeah, but we have 60 plus in one box, right? A lot of work. Everything has to be designed as well. Nothing is not designed, right?
Yep, exactly. I'm going to read this one out loud just since it's related to what you were talking about with the classic space. Would your team ever consider bringing back some of those classic sets in a retro product line? And yes, bring
Only the
people on
Mindstorms team
monorail.
had that power. No, that's something way out of our control. But I think what's really cool to see is Lego Ideas and all the stuff that's coming through Lego Ideas. You know, there's some fantastic products, and you know, a lot of see stuff, retro stuff like the blacksmith thing that was just released recently. Obviously, harking back to that classic castle, you know, and medieval, you know, play really strongly. You know,
Creator does a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, all the icons, all the really cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not in the Mindstorms team power to bring back classic space. Maybe I need to go and have a chat with someone.
I think the closest we get is having Yarn on our team and just having just the fact that the guy who touched those early spaceships touches these robots at some point. So that's the legacy of classic space is that designer.
Okay, so our next question is, in replay, what is your favorite mission?
Did you ever get to play?
Not replay.
Mine was that slow walking mission, which I know so many people never like. The one where you have to push a little bit slowly.
The step counter, right?
Found many people finding a way to beat it and push it quickly. But I really like the idea of that set and taking it slow, and it's cool that kids teams found a solution to make it go faster. But it was also a little bit of a tribute to the mission from Trash Trek that had
like the composter, right?
Composter from Trash Trek. So it's actually built almost exactly the same way. Just had to be actually a little bit stronger because the kids were ramming into it instead of just releasing a trigger. But hey, you guys, they found a way to make it go fast, which is cool. I'm not the person who actually places them on the field. If it were me, that would not be possible to do. I would have put it on the mat so that you can't cheat it easily anyway.
Yeah,
but
I
hey,
think that clock mechanism is really cool and something that teams should definitely.
That was a really cool one.
Yeah.
What else was there? Any other one that I really like? I like the roller, the treadmill. I think we called it. What do we call it? Where you put the wheel on and you spin it and you get that was a really fun mechanism that I think one of the other designers, Hans, had that sketch model for years that we've been trying to put it in, and we were able to finally find a theme that really fit it.
And that idea of having a sketch model or an idea and having it on your shelf for maybe years. I see that there was a question around the ideas of the mechanism used in the models we create. And actually it's you know, we start with the play first, right? And then work backwards with the mechanisms. But sometimes there's a mechanism that we just really love because it's so cool and unique. We then try and get it into the play. And that was the case with MVP, with one of the attachments called the Brick Eater. I don't know if I can find a picture of this box. Yeah, so it's this mechanism here. And essentially what it does is it spins the wheel and chomps up the bricks or drags the bricks off the carpet, you know, to tidy up and sort of throws them in. And then you reverse it and it spits them all out again. And that's been sitting on the shelf for years and we've always wanted to do a Brick Eater. And it was, Jörn worked on Boost as well. And it was within Boost, they had it as a sketch model. The Brick Eater could be something really fun to do, but it never made it through, right? It never made it. And I was like, we have to put it in here, right? It's not one of the main play, right? The main play is remote control, is the, you know, the turret, it's the crane, but we've got the elements, right? Let's build the Brick Eater and put that in. So whilst we start with the play first for all the functions, right? So, you know, Charlie needs to be able to dance, right? So therefore Charlie has to have articulate arms and you know, dynamic movement and character and personality, and the head needs to be able to look up, and, you know, we need to have great sounds and expressive face to get that energy. You know, something like the Brick Eater is, oh man, this is just a cool mechanism. Right, let's find a way to put it in. So
speaking of FLL, Lee, There's a question in chat. Which season did you have the most fun? I think developing the missions.
Oh geez. I mean, you really can't go beyond into orbit. We got to go back.
Because he went to NASA.
I got to go to both NASA buildings. I got to go to the Johnson Space Center. I got to go to the original mission control before they're doing their renovations on it. I got to go to the neutral buoyancy lab, which is the big pool, and see a life-size version of the space shuttle in there. You know what they asked us to do? They said, does any one of you have a diver's license? And unfortunately, none of us said yes, but no one said yes. If I had a diver's license at that time in my life, I could have gone into that pool because all of the spotters were in there. And it kills me a little bit.
You have a driver's license
I,
now, right?
I don't know because I don't think I'm ever going to go back there. But we got to go on top of the vehicle assembly building in Florida. On top, on top, yeah. So we're looking down at where they launched the Saturn V, and Carl from the design team who made the Saturn V, I got to put his Saturn V, his original, in the vehicle assembly building. Take a picture with it. I could do stories of that all day, like that. I could spend a 1 hour TED talk talking about how we related to what I got to see from those NASA missions into real missions, into watching people rescue Gerhardt and throw him from different parts of the field. It's so great to be able to have done into orbit. But I mean, I think the hydrodynamics was a cool season for me. I used to work in a water treatment plant, or all the water treatment plants in New York City. So there was something fun, or maybe not so fun, about that. Animal Allies was also great because we got to go to a zoo and actually see most of the animals that you see on it. So I got to see poison dart frogs and sharks being transported, and what else was really in there? I really wish we got to see the cow farm, where that carousel actually is a real thing. So that was.
I remember that.
But I don't know. I think they said it was just not a good place to go. But those were, we did get to see a video of that happening. That's cool.
Those are some pretty cool stories. Okay, so there's a question. Have there been any approaches to the robot challenge that have surprised you or impressed you? Do you have an example? And I suppose it could be any year.
Yeah. I think my favorite one might have been a smart move, where a guy was able to do both fields in under 2.5 minutes. Score perfectly on both fields in under 2.5 minutes. That was 2009, 2010. In my years, I've so much enjoyed watching people climb on the wall in Animal Allies and do any of those pull-up missions. Gosh, there's some really good, some just ways that you guys people combine missions, clever driving techniques. I think one year I was a judge, and I was most impressed by a gyro straightening program when the kid slapped it on the butt of the robot, and it just kind of corrected itself going straight to the wall. I think my reaction to that has never been more shock. I think it was a team. They were not going to score. They were not going to go far like the rest of their presentations. I've never been floored more than that one. Spanish team with the pull-up thing. I could do this all day.
So I have a question about the Mindstorm sets behind you guys. It's a different form factor, different style, kind of different sensors than past, right? So how do you see this new Mindstorms kind of changing the way maybe our FLL kids approach solving missions or building a base robot or building attachments? What kind of opportunities are there, let's say, with this new set for kids who've only built with EV3 or NXT coming into this?
Lee will probably have a more considered response than I do, but for me, it's there's a huge thing on the scale and the weight of everything now. So the hub is much smaller and lighter. The motors are super easy to build with, right? So there's no more having to think around building the basics. The basics are basic now, right? So a driving base is relatively quick, right? It's a 15, 20 element build and you're done, which hopefully then enables you to think of other things to do, right? And have that space to not be worried about the basics, to be worried about the complicated bit or the tricky bit or the unknown. I think with the Mindstorm set in particular, one of the big things that opened up the possibilities for our designers was putting 4 motors in the sets and enabling you to really, you know, to be able to think of different mechanisms in that way. And I think I would just say that the speed, right? Using the big plates, using the frames, like prototyping really quickly. So to that point earlier on, when we're talking about getting an idea out onto paper or into a sketch model, for me, when I, you know, and when I'm building with this, I'm always just starting with like one of the plates, a few of the frames and some gears, and it's just like throwing ideas down seems to come much quicker with this. In fact, I keep a box full of pieces on my desk, and I'm always just like, you know, and it's there's something around it. It just feels much more inviting to ideate with it. You know, from a use perspective, I guess for Lee, there's you know other considerations from you know the actual FLL side, right?
I think from this particular set, maybe I hope it inspires teams to also think about design and aesthetics of their robots, because at some point every robot will be doing the same thing. So the robot that the team that kind of gives that extra bit to say, hey, this is my expression, and this part of the robot also means something to me. Is something to think about, and then there's a lot of expression that was designed into this robot because it looked like a video game character, or it looked like this particular character. We were, you know, when we look at, if you look at the Boston Dynamics robot dog, it's very early steps. So it was really motors and sticks to now this beautiful yellow walking piece of art that can also dance and move around. So
yeah, I mean,
especially coming with and I hope in the future, as we become more unified in terms of a robotics platform within Lego and our motors, that they can also look at the other sets that Lego has and want to build with those. Maybe start combining stuff and kind of going away from First Lego League and being inspired to build like a cool Technic thing that's not a robot, using a power functions motor and those weird looking things that we have in our sets.
Coming at this from a longtime coach perspective, this set actually contains a ton of elements that I have personally bought for my kids and my team, right? Having, like Dan said, those plates and the frames, and there's a lot of it, not a few. It's surprising that even though it is the retail set and these beautiful 5 models to start with, the collection of elements is a good one that I found myself purchasing all of these. So I know from watching Sanjay and Arvind build that these are very useful. You can prototype quickly, build large. And then like Dan said, if the base build for your robot is quick and fast, because now it's nice and square and easy to fit, then you spend your time on your attachments. So I do like that perspective. Thank you.
And it's lovely to hear, because we did spend a long time obviously designing the models, designing the play, but then also putting loads of extra elements in the box. And we actually worked with a group of fans and did an exercise where we gave them like a mini pretend shopping session where we laid loads of elements out on a table and gave like fake prices, and this element is worth 1 stud and this is worth 2 studs, and then we gave them a little bag full of studs to pretend money and say, okay, go shopping, right? Buy what you want, you know. And people are getting this and that, and then afterwards we'd ask, okay, so why did you take 3 of the big building plates? And the answer was, I don't know. They looked cool, and it's like, okay, but you spent all your money on those. Maybe if we gave you 1 building plate, would you take a differential? Would you take an extra turntable? Would you take 50 extra pins or whatever? Whatever it is, right? And we really tried to do that, because when you build one of the 5 models, you've still got maybe half the bricks left, right? And that's something which no other Lego product is that. You always get a few leftovers, right? But here you get, oh word, look at all these pieces. And some of the feedback has been, you know, that this is actually an invention kit. And it's like, yes, it is, right? We want you to take these, and you know, we really tried to make it something that yes, the models are great and the play is fun and you can follow it, you know, step by step and build Charlie and the drum kit and have a great time. Or you can go, I don't want to build the drum kit. I want to build, a massive hammer for him to use, or whatever, right? Or want to change the mechanism completely and change the way that the Charlie moves or drives or walks. So it's great to hear you say that, because it was a conscious effort from our side to be something different when it comes to a Lego product, and also when it comes to EV3, right? The EV3, when you built Everstorm, the retail set anyway, when you built Everstorm, you didn't have a lot left, right? And also that's something we wanted to try and change. It's a fun set. I say I keep a random box of bricks on my desk, and I'm always tinkering. And I got asked by my boss the other day. She said to me, "What are you doing?" Because I was just idly building. And I said, "I'm thinking. Leave me alone."
think with our hands. So it's the desks are not everybody's full of bricks. Mine is.
Yeah, yours is all bricks. Yeah, and the floor and the chair and the
chair.
So I see
That'll clean up now because I'm going digital.
Hey, Lee, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're playing with off the corner?
Oh, this is the virtual open trophy that I was happy enough to be asked to design and be part of, and I am going to make a detailed video explaining a little bit more about this, and I'll actually build through it. So. But it's been cool to be part of making trophies with you guys and first for the last years. And this one has a pretty special place in my heart because this shape came from a really long time from my college days. I did I was supposed to go back to school before I became a Lego designer. And as part of that class that I was taking, I actually built this. To show something about scaffolding and teaching that if you build with small parts that are not so complicated, you can make something really interesting. So that's really cool. And then there's a lot of meaning about how it is half of the whole shape in the world that we live in, and a little bit of Mindstorm's inspiration with the teal colors. So, because
and your wheel,
and of course putting the wheel on the base because it's my wheel, and I know some of you guys are gonna wish for a second wheel.
To win 2 trophies.
You gotta win 2 trophies.
Which you could do in theory.
Get another Lego set, or maybe I don't want you to take it apart, and this is gonna be your base for your trophy. So, but we are inviting the winners of these trophies to actually complete their world and use what they've learned from this side of it to build the other half and be their expression of themselves. And it's going to be super cool with the logo here and the tile. And I'm looking forward to all the teams who's going to get it. And congratulate all of them early for you guys who are going to play with it. And of course, I have a little fidgety thing with my hand, so I need to play with something when I'm talking. So if it's not this, it's the main card. other bricks, and I try to play with something that I can show on camera. So,
Well, it's
Just, you know,
beautiful, and
yeah.
we thank you
hope
for.
everyone likes it, and I'm gonna film part of that today, and then hopefully get it to you guys by the end of the week. So, but it'll be out there for everyone to, I guess, see. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I'll talk to the organizing team about how we share it up.
Perfect. Any
Cool.
last question or so? Sanjay Arvind?
I just see someone said, what does our workspace look like? And how different is it from a more standard workplace? I mean, we have a desk, right? Each. So that's nice. We get a desk each with a computer on it. And then these massive drawers full of all the Lego. And we have big building tables where you know, with nice lighting and with a standing height. So you stand and build at those tables.
It's an open space,
open plan office. Yeah.
A lot of, I don't know, whatever we see on TV is kind of closed cubicles. We have everything open. So if I'm programming my beep, 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 beep robot, everyone can hear me, for better and worse.
And where each team is, so the Mindstorms team, the Technic team, they'll all have their individual drawers, right, full of bricks. But then if you want to go and see, I mean, it's not all the bricks that you have like the most common elements in those drawers. We walk down the building, down the stairs, into the first floor, or the ground floor, sorry. Those are all the bricks. And then you take yourself a little box and you go, right, I'm going to go pick some of these bricks. And you just go and take what you need, bring it back up and build with that. It doesn't get old. That's still special, right? That's a really nice, and then there's also the prototype elements. So obviously we talked earlier about creating new elements. So we have like test molds where people will be making new elements that we've never had before, or existing elements in different colors. So we can then go and pick those and try them and see how that might be cool for something. But yeah, it's an open plan office. We've got maybe we've got a TV and a Super Nintendo for break time, and little phone booths if marketing people want to take conference calls and they're making too much noise and they just go and shut themselves in a little phone booth. But yeah, it's a really nice atmosphere because it's a building full of designers.
It's a little bit of a time travel as well. Almost everything in here is 1 to 2 years away from what you guys see out there. So it is a bit weird to sometimes go into the store and be transported to about 2-3 years back when we saw them on the shelves. And what's out here now is usually something that's coming out later.
Yeah, so
it
if
is a bit of time
we're
travel.
walking past, the Lego Friends team, or one of the city team, and then we go to the employee store, and it's like, wait a minute, that's a different colored tractor, right?
I do my best to stay away from Star Wars or superheroes, just because it is a field of spoilers, and I want to enjoy it. I actually really want to enjoy those when they come spoilers. Out. So they actually have NDAs, and they can't. They have stuff that's secret to even us, to the entire design organization because of their partners. But you have to completely respect that, because it's just, some stuff is fun to share. Some stuff is like, please don't tell me. I don't want. We sort our pieces by color.
Color and function. And we have, custom built drawers with custom built containers in them, which I would die to have those at home, but I don't have those at home. I have IKEA drawers and some plastic things I got from Netto.
There's a really great fun for me, at least, to have a pile of unsorted parts. There's a level of discovery and play element in that. That's a little different from getting what you need and making your 100 copies of something. But in terms of design, actually, it's sometimes not great to have everything sorted. Sometimes you want to discover.
It's just very quickly. I know we're over time. With the current Mindstorms box, when you open it up, it has these sort of printed zones, and we heard some people say, "Hey, why didn't you put dividers or separators or a big plastic tub or things or everything?" But what this actually is this is how Morton was organizing his bricks whenever he was building. So whenever he was building, I would come over to the building table and I'd see these piles, and there would be piles of motors, piles of gears and wheels, piles of frames, piles of pins, not all sorted like perfectly to within an inch of their life, right? But just generally organized into groups of function and of size. And that's exactly what this is. And the guys who were graphic designers who were creating the box were trying to understand what the concept was when I was saying, hey, we want these zones. So I just took a picture of the table and I said, take this and put it in the box, right? And they did. And I was like, perfect, right? Because now when Morton was building, he used the box and he dumped those into there. And again, it's like Lee says, it's not about having like perfection, but it's about giving you that, I'm building with panels. So here are all the panels. So I can just, see what, or I'm looking for a gears. There's a big pile of gears. So we try to mimic what we do in the office into the experience for everyone at home.
How can I say we don't really need to keep our pieces organized?
But I think yeah, I mean, we just,
well, part of it is someone actually is there's a whole team that's there to help fill our drawers. And if we need to clean up really fast, there's a place for cleanup.
Yeah, and then we can say the digging through the pieces, I'll hear Jörn often just there with a box, like scraping through it, trying to find pins and bits and pieces. So it's very similar to you guys building at home.
Except we just have one.
Yeah.
Not all designers live in Denmark. There's some they live everywhere, but the majority lion's share of
most of the model builders, model designers do live in Denmark, or at least they work in Innovation House. I think are there any designers that commute anymore? I don't think there's anyone that commutes back in, before lockdown days.
There were people who came from London.
People came from the UK,
Germany, and Sweden.
Yes.
Just like if they could live there, and then there was a way for them to.
They drive from. I think there's a few German guys who still drive over the border. Just conscious of time, we run a little over from our side, but we're always happy to talk. I think we answered everything there, guys. So
thank you, Dan and Lee, for returning back to a second session and staying late at work for all the kids. It was a pleasure.
Yep, that was really informative, also really fun. I think we all learned a lot, so thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you for joining us.
Great questions. You guys had some really awesome stuff. And
yeah.
Good luck to anyone still competing, and good luck to the judges for deliberation. All of you guys. Hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, wherever you're from.